Danny, how are you getting on with the blinds?
Yeah, it feels like a encryption factor.
It is a little bit Crystal Maze-esque. What is going on, team? Welcome back to another video. We are back here at Route 1. Is it another lovely Sunday evening? We're both flipping exhausted, aren't we? Like the inertia of getting off the couch was just that much flipping harder today. I'm gonna be doing a full body conditioning session, kind of specifically targeted to military preppers and hybrid athletes, which I'll walk you through today, and a couple of the principles of why I'm doing things in the order that I'm doing, why I'm pairing certain exercises with others, etc., etc. I'll be covering that with you. I'll do a little bit of a warm up in a minute, and realistically, I'm gonna need some amino acids and probably some nicotine gum. I don't think I've had any nicotine gum since I spoke to you guys last week, actually, but I think today may be the day as I'm feeling very tired and sluggish. But for now, let's get warm. So, full body conditioning today. Spent a couple of minutes on the bike. This is probably the most hybrid day I've had. So I'm able to run again, which is amazing. So I had some fluid drained from my ankle underneath my super granddad socks. They are granddad AF, aren't they? I'll show you why. First of all, I shouldn't really insult them. Thank you, Danny, for my Christmas present.
You're welcome.
So, one of the things that I'm literally, this is the biggest flipping hack for kind of getting your feet nice and strong and stable, more so than Vivos or Vibrams or anything like that. Should have had Velcro shoes. Is, boom, 5-toe socks. The fact, literally socks like this, some people are going to be disgusted by this, aren't they? I don't care about offending your weird foot fetish sensibilities. Literally, the fact that even in socks that you can kind of move your toes independently, it really does start to feel different, actually. Regardless of like how big the kind of the toe box is on a particular shoe, having the socks that you can move around just makes such a difference. Danny, does it not?
It makes all the difference.
There we go. Even got your daughter involved, haven't we?
Yes.
She loves them. It's a good crazy little ferret, isn't she, running around her nose? So, hybrid day today. We went for a 7/8K run this morning. Now that I'm able to run again, so that was, I think, the third run that I've done in the last couple of weeks since having some fluid drained from my ankle. I'm back at the Sussex Foot Centre on Tuesday to probably get a little bit more out, but the fact that I can kind of run a nice steady pace, probably what's a comfortable pace for me per K? About 440 is a nice kind of steady state pace, and then between 410 and 420 is a little bit more of a kind of push it speed. But we're going about 5 minutes per K, sorry, today. And because of that, I haven't done like a 5 mile / 8K run in the morning and then done a conditioning session later. So I'm just kind of making sure that I'm rolling out now, and I'm flipping intrigued to see how I feel tomorrow, actually, but hopefully I should be good. But I do like those. I want to implement some more. I'd actually be happy for a bit more of an intense exposure to kind of training load, to have a couple more double training days in the week where basically I'm doing like an AM session and a PM session, and then actually have 2 proper completely full rest days. I think that my body's going to respond better to that rather than having the same amount of training load diluted. I think having it kind of intensely in that time in it, and then giving it a full proper day off to kind of adapt to those adaptations, I think is good. So a little bit of rolling now, and then I shall walk you through what we're doing in today's session. Help me! Help me! This is when you know someone's in their mid-30s, where it's like, are they rolling out or have they had a fall? How old do you think you have to be before you'd say, oh, they've fallen over to they've had a fall? I think that's the metric, that's the main metric of knowing you're getting old.
I think you might be there.
I reckon mid-60s. I reckon if someone that's 61 falls over, they fall over. If someone's like 68, I reckon they've had a fall. We need to make sure they're all right. So then, welcome to heavy hybrid conditioning. Super catchy title that I've been thinking about for ages. / made it up about 10 seconds ago. Wrote it on the board. So a lot of my conditioning sessions, for those of you that don't know, which you flipping should. If you don't, go back to some of the old videos. Lots of golden content. I know I would say that, but it's true. I'd like kind of doing a little bit of like push-pull legs as like a heavy conditioning starter. That's kind of the first part of a conditioning day. I'm only going to do 2 exercises, and they're paired for a reason, so I'll go over that now. Sled push and arm over arm pull. And as well as being something that works quite well because using a sled and a rope for both, I'm going to do that as an EMOM for 10 minutes. But effectively, sled push, the way that I look at it, it's an isometric upper body exercise because your upper body has to hold it, and it's a kind of a dynamic lower body exercise, keeping the impact fairly. There's not an awful lot of eccentric load because obviously I've been running today. So instead of doing plyometrics after an 8K run, doing something that is kind of working a little bit more at full range. Obviously sled isn't particularly full range, but making sure the eccentric load is down to a minimum is always going to help. But effectively, the primary component here, it is a dynamic lower body and isometric upper body exercise. Push the sled all the way to the end, come back, and then arm over arm. You literally have to kind of lower your stance. It then becomes isometric lower body and dynamic upper body. Again, with not that much eccentric load, because you're reaching over it, you're pulling towards you, but there's no controlled eccentric loading on it, no eccentric tempo for both. So that's kind of the reason that we're doing it. Dynamic lower body, isometric upper body, and then it switches round for that. EMOM for 10 minutes for 60 kilos on the sled. That is the reason I'm only doing 2 exercises as part of like this first section of the heavy hybrid conditioning. And one of the other reasons is as soon as you go to like 3 exercises or more, you start to decrease the amount of like localized kind of growth hormone production and release, etc. Because basically you're shunting that blood around to too many different areas. But obviously because I'm doing a sled push and then a pull and then straight back to the push, you know, I'm only getting kind of 40 seconds break or whatever from when I finish the push to when the legs have to start working in the same way again. So that growth hormone production is going to be a hell of a lot higher, meaning you still get a little bit of a muscle growth benefit as well. 3, 2, 1. Right, 30 seconds on the dot. I'm doing this for 10 minutes. So it's push and pull in that minute. So I'll see how I feel, after about 5 rounds. And then for the last 5, I might put a little bit more weight on. But considering I'm 1 round in, I'm not gonna make that assessment just yet. So I'll see how I feel after 5 rounds. But that's 1 done in the bag. That's 5 done, 5 left. Let's put a wee bit more weight on. You don't feel it. You don't feel the extra weight on the push. You bloody well feel it on the pull. About halfway back. Every stroke, just getting that, pulling that elbow or pulling that thumb to the rib just feels so much harder. Seven down, 3 to go. So, a little bit of technical work on this. So obviously with this, you're not always overcoming the same amount of resistance. Basically, there is that initial inertia of getting the sled moving. And then as soon as it's sliding over the carpet, it starts to feel a little bit easier. So you want to keep it moving. And that's why single arm is good. A, it keeps it moving. B, it's a little bit more metabolic. And C, it's nice and symmetrical by the fact that it's one hand, then one hand, then one hand, and you keep going. However, as you saw in the last probably 3-4 rounds, especially when I put that extra bastard 10 kilos on, I wasn't able to do that. So I was having to kind of dig my heels in, lean forwards, grip, lean back and push, and use it primarily as a lower body pull, just by virtue of the fact that's all I had left. But especially in the last 2 rounds, if you do that, because whether you're consciously aware of it or not, you will have a favoured hand to go in front. So big pull, and then, just for the purposes of symmetry and posture, etc., try and deliberately make sure the other hand goes on top. So if you are doing that slightly more staggered pulling, as opposed to body low, arm over arm, if you're doing double arm and then pull in, reach forward, double arm, pull in, every time you do double arm, try and alternate the hand, which is in front, just so that you don't develop a favourite side. Obviously it'll affect kind of the strength at range of the bicep, and you'll be slightly twisted. And a whole manner of deleterious symptoms come with being asymmetrical. So try and keep that symmetry by alternating which arm goes in front of which. I'm now going to get some amino acids, and then we're going to move on to section 2. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. So the next section is, we have Zercher hypers. This is another little alternating EMOM that we've got, which again, I believe if kind of all the variables are manipulated in the right way, you do get the benefit of kind of eliciting a little bit of growth hormone, getting a bit of a muscle building effect, as well as getting a good quality cardiovascular kind of metabolic benefit, as well as working on some of the stabilizers if you're implementing some kind of rehab stuff in there as well. So Zercher hypers, we've already done a lower body movement with the sled, which is very anterior chain based, which means it's very kind of quad based. Now moving on to a little bit of lower body stuff, some hyperextensions. This is posterior chain, so working on the hamstrings, which would be there, and the glutes, those ones. You're welcome, /sorry, depending on your sensibilities. Zercher hypers, so if we kind of pan over here now, I've literally never done this, so it's new to me as it is to you, so let's see how we get on. But effectively, holding a barbell, I don't want to have too much upper body activation, and holding it means it's going to be too low. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to lift the barbell up into the crook of my elbow and then extend from there. So I'm going to do 15 reps, and then the next exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to do some glute bridge dumbbell press. So what you just saw me doing there on the Swiss ball, that's how I'm going to do it. It's a little bit more wobbly, so it kind of builds stability. I'm not going to be able to lift massive amounts, and I'm not going to be able to truly challenge my central nervous system in terms of horizontal push press on the Swiss ball, but that's not the objective. You need to look at what you're doing through the lens of what is the flipping goal for this. And the goal is to get a little bit of a pump, it's to get a little bit of a metabolic effect, and to build up some kind of core stabilizers. So glute bridge position with kind of the Swiss ball underneath my shoulder blades, and then 15 reps on some dumbbell press. So obviously we've done a quad-based exercise, we've done like an anterior chain and a pull movement in the form of sled push and arm over arm pull, and now we're doing posterior chain and push. So basically all 4 primary movement patterns done. There is method in the flipping madness. So quick little finishing touches, which basically means me having some more amino acids and trying to perk myself up, because as aforementioned earlier, I'm flipping tired, and then we'll get cracking. Well, that hurts more than I was expecting. Again, about 30 seconds on the dot on each. Let's see if we can keep this pace. Oh my word. Both of those were a hell of a lot harder than I thought. I mean, the Zerchers, I suppose it's literally something I didn't even think of. I was like, well, I'll just be able to hold it here. but it's kind of your arm pulls down a little bit closer to kind of your torso, which means that angle at the elbow slightly extended. So it's kind of pushing on that part of your forearm instead of kind of sitting in the crook of the elbow more naturally like it would with a Zercher carry or most commonly Zercher squat or lunge. So that was flipping spicy, 15 of those. And then that I thought would be more of a rest station and more of kind of, I'll really focus on kind of tripod foot in the ground, focus on that stability. But that was a ball bag, both in terms of your global recruitment of having to keep everything engaged to keep stable. Like I saw my last few reps of my last set, I felt like I was on a waterbed, not exactly a strong foundation, but I suppose that's the kind of the whole point. And again, working different stabilizers in my shoulder, rhomboids really having to kick in and developing the endurance of the rhomboids in the Zercher hyper. I don't even know if that's an exercise. If you haven't seen it before, call it the Galvin 19 and we'll just kind of name it after me. And then for the dumbbells, really kind of making sure the hips stay up. And in a glute bridge, obviously, I'm not just throwing my torso up like this. I'm attempting to kind of make sure the glutes are engaged. Boom, so you get that rotation. So it is the glutes that are doing the work, not that you're just like pulling your bottom rib as high as you can. And that's kind of pulling that sag up with it. You want everything in a nice straight line. And 15 of those, I mean, it's only 25 each hand for dumbbells. So I was like, oh, we'll be fine. And it was super dynamic, but obviously there's like basically no rest. So on minute 10 or whatever of that, my fifth set of 15, the last two sets, actually, I got to 9, had a quick breath and then did the last 6. So yeah, definitely feeling that. So now what we'll do, quick break again and then get it on to section tres. Section 3 of heavy hybrid conditioning. Danny just said off camera, she's like, don't forget I'm shorter than you, so I have to hold it up. I was like, it's a workout for both of us then, isn't it? So, one of the things I like to do in my conditioning sessions, as you know, is start with something a little bit heavier, and especially something that can get some of the stabilizers working. So we're getting in a little bit of muscle growth, bit of a metabolic effect, working the joints at full range but low impact, and getting some prehab, rehab work in there as well by kind of working the stabilizers. But what I like to do as I go through my conditioning session, and the chances are you'll see this as kind of a theme in all of my stuff, even when it's broken into 3 different sections, effectively I kind of scale down the level of intensity as I go. Sometimes I do like a bit of push-pull legs and then like a longer AMRAP, longer conditioning piece in the middle, and then finish off with some sprints. That's one way of kind of doing a little bit of a finisher. But I would say probably more than 50% of the time I kind of work my way up for volume and down with intensity, and obviously they are kind of inversely correlated, as they say. So one of my old training partners, Harry Nick, well, we're still training partners. We went for a run today. So I guess that means she's still my training partner. I was telling me about this workout the other day. I think this is 19.1 from CrossFit. So it's 19 calories on a rower and then 19 wall balls, and it's as many rounds as possible. 19 minutes. So I think those are kind of roughly good numbers, actually, that you can kind of keep a decent clip and that you don't get too ball bagged and exhausted with one modality before you then have to move to the other. As an example, if you were doing 30 wall balls, that's probably at the kind of the limit where you're like, if it's any more than that, if it's up to like 40, 45, 50, you might need to break them up. But 19 is probably enough. It's probably kind of it's probably designed for that reason. It's kind of the sweet spot. You can just carry on with it. I think technically the only thing I am going to make sure that I do, calories are obviously wall balls is pretty much all quads, and especially kind of power of quads at the top. 19 calories on the rower. I'm going to try and make sure the seat doesn't move quite as much, and you can do kind of long leggy strokes, and then you can do kind of hinging forward and then pulling back from a hinge position. And I'm going to try and maintain a bit more of a hinge position on the rower to save my quads for the wall balls. I have no idea, but that's kind of the only rudimentary thing I can think of. So 19 minutes, I do a few calories on the row just to get used to the movement, same with the wall balls, and then finish off with this little bad boy.
Come on, put your big girl pants on.
Did I bring my big girl pants? Absolutely not tonight. But do I have to do it? I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. 3, 2, 1. So that sucked. So I got 9 full rounds, got the 19 calories, and then got 9 wall balls. So basically I was 10 wall balls away from 10 full rounds. It is cheeky, I mean wall balls obviously it's very quaddy and they can weaken, but I wasn't expecting to feel that kind of assault bike or prowler style. Come a bit closer because of the mic. Thank you. That assault bike or prowler style, perfect. I wasn't expecting to feel that assault bike or prowler style, like lactic burn and heat, but I did. Oh, I'm shaking. That was good, man. That was a flipping good way to finish it off. That was one of the worst conditioning workouts I've done in a while. I was basically like, I want to do 19 calories in a minute, 19 wall balls in a minute. So if I get 8.5 rounds, effectively I'm doing every section in slightly less than 60 seconds. And I got more than a round more than that. So I got like 19.5 rounds, effectively. Sorry, 9.5 full rounds. Flipping heck, man. So many 9s, so many 1s, so many 10s, then what's going on? But overall, I'm happy with that. That was a good conditioning session. Again, the first 2 supersets, if you can combine a little bit of like functional bodybuilding into your conditioning work, get some stabilizers working as well. There's like so many boxes that you need to tick to stay a good athlete that stays strong. Let's rise together. Stay strong and healthy and mobile and maintains your performance, health and physique. There's so many boxes we need to tick with mobility, stabilizers, eccentric loading, building control, dynamic work, ballistic work. There's so many things that we can do. So if there is a workout or a portion of a workout where you can fit a couple of those components in one, and effectively the way that you execute part of a session, you know, you get 3 big green ticks in your kind of checklist of like weekly fitness checklist, then it just kind of makes sense to do it. But I did enjoy it. If you did, please do smash that like button assertively. Once again, takes you 2 seconds. But it makes my day. Any questions on anything, guys? Any suggestions, any requests of anything you'd like to see or like me to cover or kind of interested in my viewpoint on? Please do put it down in the comment section below. As always, absolute flipping legends. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome. And I'll see you guys in the next video.